And Muhammad did not get married the same evening.
Okay, when was it?
Let me tell you, calm down. Because you said same evening, you have no evidence for
Next
that.
day?
Neither does your mate Tommy Robinson.
When was
Okay,
it?
listen to this. First and foremost, in Islam there is a rule. You cannot just go and marry a captive of war that you have captured. That is the first rule.
Why?
Because that is the rule of the war.
Where is that rule?
That's rule in the Sharia. Okay? And that rule is something that the Prophet ﷺ himself had actually instigated during the wars. It doesn't mean that the Muslim... Look, if you want to be educated, you need to be quiet.
Tell me when it was.
I'll tell you, but you need to listen to me.
Tell me now.
I'll tell you. If you're in a hurry, come back when you have time.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm not going to rush it. This is the history of Islam.
Yeah.
Okay? What I'm telling you is this. It did not happen the same evening. That's for certain.
The next day.
It happened. No, it didn't happen the second day or the third day. You need to understand one thing. There is something called the iddah. Do you know what iddah is? What is iddah?
3 months.
Huh?
3 months.
3 months? 3 months what?
Waiting period.
For what?
After having sex.
No, it's not after having sex. Okay, let me tell you what it
So
is.
after your
Many Muslims wouldn't know this, so I don't want to hold it against you. The iddah is a period, basically is a number of menstrual cycles.
Yeah.
So, for example, when somebody gets
exactly after having sex.
no, it's not after having sex. Listen to this.
After having sex.
No, don't be silly. It's after the menstrual cycle. There's a difference between menstrual cycle and having sex. I hope you know that difference. Okay, let me tell you something.
No, but when does it start?
I'll tell you if you wait for me. Listen, I'm telling you when. So there is different iddah for different people. For example, if a woman is divorced, her iddah is 4 months and 10 days. If she is widowed, then her iddah is 3 months.
From what though?
Let me finish. Iddah is basically the waiting period between one menstrual cycle to another. Okay? Are you with me? Not having sex.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Now, for a captive, okay, the iddah is one menstrual cycle. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ waited one menstrual cycle before he married Safiya. Remember the word?
1 month.
Married. I don't know how long the menstrual cycle was for her. Normally it's 1 month, yes.
So he waited 1 month.
I'm telling you, that's the normal time. So I have no clue as to when her previous menstrual cycle was when she got captured. But basically it is one menstrual cycle since captivity.
So you want me to believe that she was happy to marry this guy?
Yeah, based on the history
1
of
month
yes,
after having sex.
the history of Safiya. If you read the history,
After her husband was
listen.
killed.
Even before she was captured, she actually had a dream. Safiya had a dream that the sun landed in her lap. Yes, and she revealed this dream to her husband, who was a king. You know what the husband did? He smacked her one on the face, and she actually had a mark near her eye. This was her husband. When she narrated this story, he understood that, are you going to marry the king who is invading us, i.e. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And this is when he struck her one on the eye, near the eye, and it made a mark to her. And then she realized that this story is now related to her. And when they actually captured king and these Bani Qurayza, this tribe of the Jews, she was a Jewess, by the way. This is when she realized that this prophecy had come true, or this dream had come true. Yes, and remember when she married Muhammad, based on her testimony, she said he's one of the best husbands I could have had. Very compassionate, very kind. Yes. She compared him, and she saw somehow to her previous husband who beat her and caused a mark near her eyes, which stayed permanently. Now wait a minute. This woman had love for the Prophet ﷺ. If you read the history of Muhammad, you'll see this love emanate from both Muhammad ﷺ and her, Safiya radiallahu anha. Some of the wives of Muhammad, they were jealous of her because she was a very good cook. Yes, I think there's one narration where Aisha radiallahu anha, because of jealousy, she broke a pot. She took the pot and she threw it down because the Prophet ﷺ and everyone else liked her food very much. And Safiya loved her until death. You know when the Prophet ﷺ, on his deathbed, on his deathbed, you know what she said? The suffering you're having, I wish that was for me. So she wanted to change places with the Prophet ﷺ at his deathbed when he was suffering during the last throes of his death. This is the love of Safiya and Muhammad ﷺ. When they used to travel, you know, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he used to make it easy for her. So the saddle, if it was very hard, the saddle of the camel, he used to put his own cloak on it so that she could sit and it would be comfortable for her. This was the love of Muhammad and Safiya radiallahu anha, which you and Tommy Robinson wouldn't see because you haven't read on it. All you have seen is that Safiya was a captive and Muhammad married her by force. There's no evidence for that.
But in Islam, you can have sex slaves.
You can have sex slave. No, you can have, for example, look, there's a difference. Wait. I've already, have you actually understood anything I said?
Yeah, but what is,
Okay.
you can have sex slaves.
First and
You can have
foremost,
sex
you need
slaves.
to understand the difference between sex slave. What is sex slave? Define. Define sex slave to me.
Is captive, a prisoner of war,
Yes.
who you can have sex with.
Yes. Does she have any rights? A sex slave, does she have any rights? Good. So that is not sex slave as far as Islam is concerned. Because in Islam, there is actually a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that feed the slaves which you call, actually we wouldn't use the word slave even, is actually a servant, more of a servant. Yes? Even a captive if you want to call it, yes. But not a slave in the sense of the European slaves where they were shackled by boatloads taken to America, yes, and the ones who did not survive, they were thrown in the seas.
You can have sex with these captives though.
No, have sex, but with condition. What? You don't just have sex with them. For example, the idda I told you already. So imagine if the previous pagans, you know what they used to do? As soon as they used to capture the women, yes, they used to have sex with them the same night. Have you ever seen an army which has captured and overpowered the very people who wanted to kill them, and then said, no, we are going to capture them and we are going to wait an idda. We are going to wait up to 1 month, yes, before we sleep with them. Yes, they can have sex with them and they're allowed to marry them as well, and they have to actually abide by the condition. So not every soldier, listen. Really? It's horrible? Yeah. It's horrible? Do you know what happened during the World Wars? They used to sleep with them the same night. I'm not, because you're trying to say it's horrible for the Muslims.
Is it horrible?
What you're doing now is you're basically...
Is it horrible?
What's horrible?
Having sex with sex
Is it horrible to kill people?
Is it horrible to have sex with sex slaves?
If they have sex slaves, you know some of the sex slaves, which you call sex slaves. Some of the women, when they used to go along with their husbands,
Is it horrible to have sex?
Can I answer? Can I answer the way I want?
No.
No, then I don't want to answer you.
Say yes or no.
No, I will not answer yes or no.
Is it horrible to have sex with sex?
I'm not here to answer the way you want me to answer.
Do you think it's
I will
horrible?
answer.
Do you think it's horrible?
I will answer the way I want.
Do you think it's horrible?
I will answer
Do you
the
think-
way
do you think it's
I want.
horrible?
Okay. Safia did not think it was horrible.
Do you think it's horrible?
Safia did not think it was horrible.
You
The
say-
very victims that you're trying to actually speak for, they themselves were pleased that the Muhammad ﷺ married them. So don't tell me it's horrible when they themselves did not say it was horrible. Now listen to this. Why did the women, when they went to war, why did they dress up during the war at that time? Why? Why did they put on the jewelry and dress up really nicely when they went to war? Why? If it was so horrible, why did they actually prepare for such an occasion? Are you going to answer?
Muslim
too big, bro. Hold it in your hand.
Muslim people came to this country
If you want to, yeah,
and
go on.
they went to Cornwall and they invaded Cornwall and they took
Who invaded Cornwall? The Muslim armies.
Muslim army.
Which army?
Muslim pirates.
Muslim powers? Which powers?
Pirates.
Pirates. Oh, do you know they were Muslims? Are you sure? Which country did they come
They come
from?
from Barbary Coast.
From Barbary Coast.
Barbary
Yes,
Coast,
and what did they do?
North Africa.
Yeah, what did they do?
They took women in this country, and they took them back to North Africa, sold them as sex slaves.
Yeah, free women.
And they-
Wait,
you're-
were they
you're
free
saying-
women?
You're saying this.
Were they free women? Those women they took from Cornwall, were they free?
Of course they were.
Okay, did they fight a war with the pirates?
No.
Because you see, that is illegal in Islam.
No, it's not. You can
Oh,
spread
you're
Islam-
teaching me what Islam is?
You can spread Islam by offensive jihad.
No, we're not talking about offenses here. We're talking about pirates here. There's a big difference. Now, pirates, wait a minute. Pirates is not an Islamic army. First and foremost, you need to understand the difference. In Islam, the only way you can have captives of war, yes, is if they fight you and you fight them. Wait.
you
I
can
haven't
attack
finished.
too. You can attack
I haven't
too.
finished. Yeah, it can be offensive war as well.
Exactly.
I'm not saying only defensive war. But you're talking about pirates, which is a completely different thing. Now, pirates capturing free people is not something that Islam considers as legitimate, because that's not really a war, is it? It is more like vagabonds going and killing people. It's like the European pirates who used to go and kill other people. So don't tell me just because you had some pirates from Muslims captured people in Cornwall, that is an illegitimate. You cannot, like the Europeans used to have slaves. Yes, they used to take any free African or Asian or anybody else, and they used to enslave that. In Islam, that is not permitted. You cannot take a free man or a woman as a slave. The only ones you can take as captives is the ones who are fighting you.
No.
Only in a war, yes. Only in a war.
You can invade a country and then they are fighting you.
Yeah, but you didn't have the United Nations then. So invading countries was quite normal at that time.
quite normal.
It was, yes.
So you could go around invading
My
countries.
friend, it was like. How do you think the world went around at that time? How?
So do you think it's acceptable?
Any
Do you
country-
think it's acceptable to go to another country?
At that time, it was, yes.
So you think
It
so?
was, yes.
Okay.
Why do you think people like King Arthur and all are made the heroes when they used to go and invade other countries?
They didn't.
No, they didn't.
Defensive.
Oh, really? So the Europeans only went to defensive wars? Are you for real?
No, but I'm
You
saying-
guys are the colonialists, for God's sake.
You're the
You're the last people to tell us about invasion of other countries.
You're the original colonialists.
Really? Show me when.
Because the whole of Islam's expansion was colonialism.
Are you saying people before Islam did not colonize anyone? What do you think the Jews
That's a
did?
segue.
What do you think the Jews did? What do you think the Jews did to the Canaanites?
But
Are you going to answer that question?
Muslims did it
What
too.
did the Jews do?
Muslims did it
No,
too.
you said we were the original. I'm telling you, the Jews came before the.
Yeah,
Before the
no,
Muslims.
but-
Do you agree?
No.
Do you?
Well, no.
You don't agree the Jews came before?
No, I agree with that, but I don't.
Did they invade any countries? Did they invade any countries?
Islam-
Did they invade any countries?
Islam.
Did they invade any countries? Did the Jews? Did the Jews?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so who are the original? Who are the original? Who are the original? See it? Look, he's reluctant now. For the Muslims, he'll say they were the original. But as soon as he's been schooled about the Jews, he doesn't want to say.
No, but yeah.
Who are the original? Say it.
You're before us, though.
Say it.
You're before us.
Before who's us? Who's us? Who's us? Wait, who is us?
The West.
The West.
Roman Empire.
Actually, you're right. The West was educated by the East.
Yeah, no, but you teach us to invade people.
No. When you were living in the Dark Ages, when you were praying to the bones of your priest, yes, we had the golden era.
When did we?
The mathematics and the astronomy was in
yeah.
our was on our turf. Yes,
Now you want
Algebra.
Now you want
that is the original. That is the original. He will not talk about.
That was in Spain.
Yeah, exactly, it was the Muslims who went to Spain.
Invasion.
No, wait. Like I told you, invasion at that time wasn't a bad thing. That was a norm.
So
It was a norm.
Muslim invasion is
Yes,
good.
the Jews invaded, the
And
Christians
everyone else
invaded,
invasion
the
bad.
Muslims invaded, the atheists invaded, the pagans invaded, the Hindus invaded, all of them invaded. Don't you worry. Okay? Now wait a minute. Before the United Nations was formed, you don't know that the rule of the law was basically whoever is the mightiest would take the flag and hoist it in the country, and that becomes theirs.
Well, that's what you want. That's what Islam would do again. If they had a
He's
chance.
giving you some drinks.
Jesus Christ is alive.
Okay, so you need to put things into perspective. I'm not saying
no.
I'm not saying all Muslims are saints. I'm saying we have our own share of black sheep.
I don't
But you
like-
need to realize
I don't
that
like-
the number of killings is far greater than any Muslim army has ever done in history for both the atheists and the Christians. That's for sure.
Not for sure.
That's for sure.
Look at the Holocaust. What about that?
Yeah, who was responsible for that? Don't tell me the Muslims. Who was responsible for that? Say it.
We were fighting against them, the Nazis.
No.
No. When you say we, remember earlier he said the West. Let's see. Let's ask him who's the we now. Who's the we now? Who's the we? Who's the we?
England.
Ah!
saying the West.
You see, this is the double standards we have to deal with.
It wasn't Jesus, was it? It wasn't Jesus.
Where did Jesus come from in the middle? Wrong conversation, mate. All right, listen. What I'm telling you is that if you look at history, it was definitely the West, the atheists, the Christians, for example, who invaded other countries and made them their slaves for sure. And also killed genocide. Massive genocide on massive
Jesus taught
scale.
love.
Same as
He taught
Islam.
love thy neighbor, love thy enemies, pray for them, love them, don't kill them.
And what will he do after he comes in his second coming? What will he do in the second coming?
You can't compare God. You tell God what to
What
do.
will he do in the second coming?
You tell God what to do.
What will he do? He says, "Bring my enemies in front of me and slay them."
know,
If they
it's
do
a
not,
parable.
if they do not believe me to be
It's a story.
parable about
It's a
whom?
story.
About whom?
About a king.
About whom?
A king.
Who's the king?
It's a story.
Who's the king?
It's not real.
In the
It's not
parable,
man.
who's the king?
Jesus said,
In the
love
parable,
them.
the one who will do the killing is Jesus. So go away.
Love them.
All right. So anyway,
Love them.
what I'm telling
I'm
you,
coming
look at
from
history
Jesus.
and
Love
put
your
things in
neighbor.
context and
Love
look at it. Just ignore him.
Love
It's
that neighbor.
background noise. So what I'm saying is that you look things in perspective and don't actually look at it anachronistically.
What I'm saying is that there's many.
Because I don't know what your hatred about Muslims is. Because throughout these discussions, you have been blaming Muslims for everything. Is there a reason you hate the Muslims?
I hate a lot of things about Islam.
Why? What is it you hate about
I
Islam?
hate sex
Give me
slaves,
one.
for example. Sex slaves.
But I just explained to you, sex slaves
no, you haven't
are not the
explained
sex
me.
slaves, the European kind.
Just as bad. Just as bad.
What do you mean just as bad?
You can't.
In Europe, you can take a free man and make them your slave at that time. Yes? Before that goes the downfall of the Israeli flag there. Okay, so what I'm saying is this. If at that time, this was a norm, slavery was a norm at that time. Now wait. What you're trying to do is you're trying to use a 21st century norm and you're trying to, this is called anachronistic understanding of history. Now, if you realize that at that time, it was okay to have slaves, but you see what Islam did? Islam actually narrowed down the sources of slavery. At that time, anyone could be enslaved. Anyone. Any free man or woman can be enslaved, but Islam said no, that is all illegal. The only way you can actually have captives is the ones who fight you and the one you fight. And then if they were overpowered, you take them as captives. And this is the only source.
That's horrible though.
Really?
Wait.
No, wait. When you say horrible, you're judging by the 21st century, aren't you not?
Isn't Islam the same for all time?
Islam is same? What do you mean?
Don't they say it's unchanging? Muhammad is an example for all time.
Yes, he is.
So
what's the problem?
How can you say that applies to
Okay, I'll tell you what. You give me one of your heroes from the past.
No, you change the subject.
No, I'm not.
Exactly.
Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to say that look, we take the higher moral ground when our history completely is rotten.
Okay,
but then I have to judge you Muslims by your 21st century, our modern history, and completely ignore everything that happened in the past.
I don't ignore everything that happened in the past.
Double standards, basically.
But do you not celebrate them as your heroes? Do you not put Churchill on your £5 notes, for example? Why are they celebrated? Why are your heroes who massacred many people celebrated as heroes, but then you do not give us the same
He
courtesy?
didn't massacre many people.
How many did he massacre?
Churchill.
Churchill during the World War II.
Yeah, but that was a.
What did he go? He went and gave roses to the Nazis.
Yeah, but he
Mr. Nazi, Mr. Hitler, here's a rose for you. Mr. Mussolini, here's a rose for you. Yes, Mr. Stalin, here's a rose for you.
We were fighting the Nazis.
Don't give me that rubbish.
We were fighting the Nazis.
Exactly, and we were fighting the pagans.
Yeah, what about the Crusaders?
Why do you think the pagans marched all the way to Medina to kill the Meccans?
Are you saying
Sorry,
but
army of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yeah.
But I'm saying that your values then, they're the same as your values now.
No, values. By values, what do you mean? What do you mean by values?
Sex slaves, for example.
Okay.
You think sex slaves is okay now?
You know what I see a
Right.
sex slave
Yeah.
today? Wait. Do you know what the modern day sex slave is? The prostitution that happens
In London.
and the one that is
In
responsible.
Do you think
In London,
but-
prostitution.
That is called sex slavery. Yes.
Do you-
And most of these people who are actually working in this industry, they're actually brought in as literal slaves.
Traffic from other
Yes.
countries to the UK.
And Jesus had no sex slaves.
But why do you think? But
Traffic.
the thing is,
In the Old Testament, he did.
How do you justify
I'm not
that?
the same Jesus in the Old
There,
Testament.
there is no prostitution in Saudi Arabia, but there's prostitution here.
Pornography.
Jesus had sex slaves.
Pornography and
Jesus
prostitution
had sex slaves.
is basically something that is
Christ.
rampant in European countries. Yes. Now for you to completely ignore all that, do you think that is good?
ignoring that.
Do you think women should be treated like that?
No.
You're trying to defend those sex slaves by the Muslim armies, but then the 21st century sex slaves
you're
is okay.
literally defending sex slaves.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
It's relevant in today's society. That's what he's trying to say. In today's society.
What I'm saying, listen. What I'm saying is that when the Muslims used to march to war at that time, yes, these women used to come. Can I finish my statement? These non-Muslim, these pagans, the families used to go along with the men, and they used to be dressed. The women used to be dressed in ornaments and with the best clothes, because they knew that if they were captured, they were going to be taken as captives of war. They knew this already. So why do you think they went and accompanied their husbands in the war? Why? We did not take them from the houses like the way the Europeans did. Yes, we did not take them and shackle them like the way the Europeans did.
So Islamic sex slavery is good.
No, it's not called sex slavery at all.
Islamic
That is, you're using your standards. You're using your standards and putting it on the Muslims.
Good. It doesn't say Islam murder is good. Islam killing prostitutes is good.
What about your murder and slavery? The murdering that happens by the drones that are thousands of miles away and killing innocent women and children. Do you think that's okay?
No, but they're not doing.
When did you ever condemn that?
I would condemn it.
Go on, let me hear it. Let me hear it.
If they're doing on
Let me hear
If
it.
they're doing on purpose,
Of course they do it on purpose. You're talking about thousands of miles away, bombing people. Do you really think they can actually pinpoint one person and kill that person?
they're normally going.
If that was the case, why didn't they kill Saddam Hussein like that? Why did they have to invade an entire country and kill 500,000 people? Why?
They didn't kill half a million people.
They did. Go and do the maths.
It's the Muslims are killing half a million people.
Where? Show me where.
The Muslims,
Where?
all ISIS, they're all Muslims. If you look at who's in ISIS,
Who's in ISIS?
they're all Muslims.
What? And who is the main victims?
Muslims.
Thank you very much.
But-
So why would you say that they are our people, the Muslims? We have nothing to do with these fringe groups called ISIS or Al Qaeda.
Yeah,
As far as I'm
but they are
concerned, they are our enemies.
But they are
But you see, your army is actually state terrorism. When you say your army bombs them, these are not fringe groups. These are legitimate armies
ISIS
which
are-
go and kill.
Are ISIS Muslims?
ISIS, they claim they're Muslims.
Are they
They
Muslims?
claim they're Muslims.
Are they Muslims?
Like I said, they claim they're Muslims.
Well, they're-
Okay,
they're
now
not-
let me
they're
ask
not
you.
Americans, are they?
Like I said, they're our enemies, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, but they're not
Are
Americans.
are the Americans your enemies? Are the Americans your friends or your enemies?
Well, they're more my friends than ISIS.
Good, so they are your friends, right? Well, ISIS is not my friend.
Yeah, we dislike
So your friend is doing the killing, and wait a minute.
No, they're not. People that claim that they're Muslims.
But they're doing it for Islam.
And to be honest with you,
Look. Just because somebody claims they are Muslims doesn't make them Muslims.
In their head, they're doing it because of Islam.
Have you checked the head?
I've seen what they say.
Oh, what do they say?
It's all Quranic verses.
Yes, and that makes them Muslim, really.
Well, that's what they say.
You can read the Quranic verse.
Read the Quranic verse.
You can read the Quran. Will that make you a Muslim?
No, but
If you read a Quranic verse, or if Tommy Robinson read Quranic verses, will that make them Muslims?
But they think they're doing it in the name of Islam.
Who's doing it?
They are.
Oh my
convinced
God!
too.
Look, people can do many things in the name of other people. Doesn't
I can do
legitimize
something in the
it.
name of you if I wanted to. So I did it for you.
But they're doing it. They're doing it because they think they're doing
And
it right.
and who do you know? The American army. Listen. The people you were just condemning, Tony Blair. He does it in your name.
No, he didn't do it in my name.
Yeah, he did it in the name of Britain.
Apart on behalf of
Are you not British?
He,
Are you not British?
He did it.
Are you not British?
He wasn't quoting.
Are you not
he
British?
Wasn't quoting some. But they are.
He was the prime minister, for God's sake. You elected him. What more you want?
That time.
It doesn't matter. Majority of you elected him. That's how he came to power. So the majority of the people are actually legitimizing this war in Iraq then.
Yeah, but I'm saying the problem is Islam.
Which problem?
Because
You're an Islamophobe, are you? Are you not?
Yeah, I am.
Yes, you are. Good. At least you admit
Really
it.
scared of it.
Okay.
There's nothing
So
wrong-
tell me,
Yeah.
what is the problem with Islam? You mentioned sex
Because-
slaves. What else? Go on,
ISIS.
carry on.
People like
Okay, ISIS, they're my enemies as well. What else? What else?
Okay, child brides.
Child brides.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of your kings married like 6 years old, 7 years old.
Does that make, so what do you think about child brides?
Okay, first and foremost,
What do you think about
what do you understand by child bride?
9 years old.
Okay, 9 years old. In this country, what is the age at which you can get married?
You have proof, 9 years old.
No, wait.
You have proof.
Wait, Rocky, wait. We're coming to that. What age can a girl get married here in this country?
16, I think.
16. Okay. What was it 100 years ago?
No, but what do you
What
think-
was it 100 years ago? Because you're doing it again. You're using anachronistic examples from Islamic history from 1400 years ago, and you're trying to judge it from the 21st century. How many Muslims you know? How many Muslims you know that desire child brides?
Quite a lot.
Really? Name me one. Name me one. Let's see if he does. Name me one.
Well, the legal age in Iran.
No. You said quite a lot. Do you know any?
Yeah.
Name me one.
I've spoken to many on
Online?
internet forums.
Online?
Yeah.
How do you know they were even Muslims?
Because I can
And why were you asking them if you desire child brides? Are you in some child pornography? Because most of the child pornographers are white British people in this country who are caught. Yes.
Politicians.
Yes. Majority of them.
What about
Majority of them.
What about all the Pakistani
Yes,
Muslim
there. I'm not saying no.
raping gangs?
There are some.
Many.
Wait.
80% of grooming gangs in this country. 80%.
80%. Where do you get your numbers from?
80% of grooming gangs.
Yes. Are
Pakistani Muslims.
really? Where do you get your numbers from?
This is official.
Where's your evidence? Show me the evidence. Show me the evidence. You just said it. I believe it. That's nonsense.
That's true.
It's utterly
If I
nonsense.
can prove it, will
Yeah,
you-
prove it. I'll
is it
believe it.
80%?
If you can believe from a legitimate source that it is 80% of
grooming-
all the child porn in this country.
I said of grooming gangs.
What is grooming gang?
Yeah, define grooming gang.
What is grooming gang? Preparing them for marriage or like actually like taking them and forcing
Grooming
them?
gangs are these groups of Pakistani men.
Oh, it's a group of Pakistani men only.
Yes.
All right. What do you consider as child pornography?
What do you mean?
Or child molesters? Or pedophiles?
Can I-
Who are majority of the pedophiles in this country? The white men.
That's because we're
Yes?
that's because we're the
And this
majority.
got nothing to do with race. This is by what do you say, by statistics. Okay, in this country, if you go and check it
That's
out,
because we're the majority.
you can. So you agree they are the majority. Just that you were saying 80%.
No. I'm saying 80% of grooming gangs.
No, don't say. You're saying 80% of the Pakistanis are Pakistanis. Is what you're saying?
No, I'm saying 80% of grooming gangs in this country.
Yeah, but grooming gang is what? There's no such thing as a grooming gang.
These are words
A term.
No.
getting from the media.
No.
You're misfabricated.
No. A grooming gang is a group of men
That prey on like, young girls, yeah.
young girls.
Yes.
And you think Muslims are going to do that, honestly, like?
And do the white pedophiles not do this?
No, not the same way.
So in which way do they do it?
They do it individually.
So you think that's good? No.
But did I say it? That's ridiculous.
How do you know it's individually? Many of these gangs have been
Because
they've been caught colluding together and basically sharing not only the pictures and the videos, but they were actually involved in this. Yes, that is called a gang. A group is called a gang.
They're not what
Yeah, individually online, still connected though. Still communicating.
But
These grooming gangs have sex.
No,
These
they're
grooming,
colluding.
these
They're colluding together to work together and get these. Yes, and
They are.
get these children, take pictures of them specifically, come together.
You should read the papers
and spread them
sometimes.
around. That's disgusting, mate.
it looks like he only reads Daily Mail and he sees only the
Oh,
Muslim gangs.
Yeah, exactly. You've been brainwashed,
No,
mate, by
the
the
grooming
media by the
gangs.
sounds of it.
This is 50 men with white girls having sex in an apartment.
In an apartment.
You know,
And this happens all over the country, is it?
Yes.
Yes, and you got and where do you think the police are doing? Nothing about it?
Not much.
Really? So whom should you blame?
The perpetrators.
By the way, that is not Islam.
Not the police.
Even if what you're saying is true, which I know is not true, it's not 80%.
It is,
Okay, because the
80% of the
pedophiles, 80% are not Muslims. Trust
You
me,
haven't shown
they're not.
any source, my
Okay,
friend. You're just talking.
I'm talking about 80% of the gangs.
but which gangs? You have just made up this term.
I've got sources.
Yeah, go on. Let's see the sources.
Tommy Robinson.
I know you won't believe anybody.
By the way, are you one of the Tommy Robinson gangs?
No,
No, you're not. What do you think of him?
I think it's okay.
You think he's an Islamophobe? Like you?
Is he an Islamophobe? Oh, I think yes, of
Okay.
course he
Yeah,
is.
like
yes.
minds think alike.
Yeah,
I don't
okay, so
blame him.
let me ask you this. Then.
Yeah.
What age do you think a girl should be allowed, the minimum age to get married?
What age? Based
Yeah.
on what? Based on the country or based on the
No,
religion?
based on religion.
Based on the religion. So, depending on the country's law, for example,
country law.
I'm telling you, I'll answer the way I want.
Islamic
I'll answer the way I
law. Islamic
want.
law,
Yes, I'll
please.
answer the way I want. Do you mind? In this country, we don't have the Sharia. So, we do
No,
not
no,
have an
no,
Islamic law.
I know that.
Can I answer the way I want?
No, you
without
tell
you
me on time.
interrupting?
Just tell me
Okay,
that.
if you don't have time, come back next time when you have time. But I'm not going to rush it for you.
Just tell me.
I will answer.
Okay, yeah.
I will answer
Sharia, please.
correctly. Yes, Sharia. Do we have Sharia in this country?
Just answer according to
No, but
Sharia.
it's important. I get feedback from you as well. Do we have Sharia in this country? Good. So in this country, it's not permitted. Okay? In this country, you follow the law of the country. Otherwise, it's illegal for you. Now, if you were in a Sharia country, Sharia compliant country, then you follow the law of that land. Yes? For example, if you went in that country and you wanted to drink alcohol, you won't get alcohol because it won't be served to you. Similarly,
How long is he going to...
I gave you the answer already. You follow the law.
You had a Sharia country
Yes.
with a Sharia law. What is the age
Okay, so
limit?
good. You're coming now. You're making more specific. So in a Sharia compliant country,
Yeah.
where you have Sharia compliancy, and this is the law, then the law is this. The law is the same as in the Jewish and the previous religions and in Islam, yes, which is at the age of puberty. So when puberty sets in, and there's more. I haven't finished. At the age of puberty, and until they have a mind which is capable of taking that experience of marriage as being something that they can take on.
And how old was Aisha when she got married?
Aisha, at the time, again, you're talking about 1400 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, she was 9 years old.
When she got married?
At the age of 9.
When she got married?
At the age of 9.
When she got married?
I told you at the age of 9.
No, that's when she had sex. When did she get married?
Oh, at the age of 6.
Yes.
Yes.
So do you think she had a mind, 6 years old, decided to get married?
At that time, that was the norm.
Do you think she had a mind at 6 years old?
No, that's why she didn't get married.
No, it's
Sorry, that's why she did not have sex.
Did you believe it, Aisha? Did you believe it?
Okay.
No, do you believe it?
By the way, do you know how?
Hadith.
Habibi, wait a minute. Listen. Do you know how old was Mary when she got pregnant? The mother of Jesus at the age of 12. Do you think a 12-year-old girl is ready to get pregnant based on today's standards? All right, so you're going to blame all the Christians that their God's mother shouldn't have been made pregnant by their God. But why do you use these double standards? Wait, why don't you blame the Christians or the Jews who used to have the same norm at that time? Yes, used to get married at a very young age. Even some of the English kings, they got at the age of 6 and 7. The law of this country, the legitimate age at which you could get married less than 100 years ago was something that you would consider as pedophilia. Many countries today in Europe, many countries in Europe, like Italy for example, do you know what the age of marriage over there is? Even today?
Yeah, but
What is it? What is it?
I don't know.
Do you think 14 years old, like just maybe a few decades ago at least, okay? All these countries which you are overlooking are European countries where they have the sex laws changed, because you see the law changes. It is a law in this country, do not get married at the next age. But you see, if they have, many of the